Medea is a woman who is wronged at the start of the play. Her husband has left her for the daughter of the king. She has made a hell of a lot of sacrifices for her husband, and the play opens with her finding out that they're getting married. And the play is about how she grapples with her rage and her desire for revenge. She's a mercurial character. She's incredibly confident, but mostly she will cut off her nose to spite her face to get what she wants. And she makes the ultimate sacrifice at the end of the play.
There are 10 of us in the chorus. So the character really, I guess they represent the women of Corinth. It's quite hard to sort of say what is a specific character. We have to speak with one voice. Although we're all very different, there's a big range of ages. And so finding that one voice. So I guess what we are is the women at the school gate who always have a view of what's going on. They're very attached in their view to Medea. They talk about Medea more than about, and they sort of encourage Medea, yeah, go for it, punish him, do it. But they also have that wonderful thing of like talking a good game, but then going, whoa, no, we didn't mean that. But I guess they play that. They're a sort of intermediary between the audience. They help to mitigate the audience's shock or horror at what's happening on the stage. So I guess that this character is the character of the chorus is a kind of intermediary between the audience who are just watching and Medea and Jason, Creon, who are absolute active, who drive the drama. They do, and we go, don't do, or yeah, go for it,
Although, and it's really interesting that when Medea first meets the chorus, she calls them women of all time.
Yeah.
And I think there's something, for me anyway, about the diversity Janette is talking about and this idea that she's speaking to women now, women before, and women in the future. Yeah. And so the character is every woman, really.
We did talk about this a bit in rehearsals about who is Glauce, this woman, because as Adura brought up one day, in the Greek time that the play was written, women had no public presence, no public life. They would have been in their houses behind the walls. I mean, except for working class women whose life stories are always different and never recorded at all. So I was quite interested about who is Glauce, this princess who has left the palace, which in Greek times she wouldn't have been able to do, and has come to confront Adura. And the way it's staged, it's as if she walks through the street. And she used to, initially she came up the stairs at the front of the runway, and it was kind of like, but her walking through the crowd, I find really impressive. There's a part of me that's kind of going, who are you? You're doing this. And it does give her a wonderful entrance because normally a wonderful entrance is like boom, and the whole audience goes, oh, but this is a wonderful entrance because a lot of the audience are going, who is that blonde girl? Can we see her? And she comes up the stairs. And so that kind of moment, and I thought about that a lot, and we talked about it, saying what is a modern, in our time, equivalent of that? And the only thing I could sort of come up with, which for your kids is before their time even, although it's was in 1987 when Princess Diana opened the AIDS unit and went and touched AIDS patients and kind of hugged them. And it was a huge story at the time. I was like, oh my God, because at that time there were still medical staff who wouldn't deal with HIV patients. And there was this huge story of this young blonde-haired girl in blue. And that was the only thing I could think of, that sense of somebody incredibly privileged, not necessarily powerful, but very privileged, very protected, being able to do that.
I tend to approach character through text, and Liz's text is phenomenal. And I think if before I did this role, I would definitely have been like commit to the text as an actor and you'll be fine. But with Medea, it's a little bit more heightened than that. Well, a lot more heightened than that, because often what she says isn't what she means. And she's often playing a game to get people on her side. After the first reading, I think as a mother myself, my instinct was to try and understand her actions and understand them from a mother's point of view, because of the really heinous act she commits at the end of the play. That kind of was like where my mind was at through the whole process. How am I going to get to this point where it feels believable to me that she would do that? So most of the rehearsal period was exploring that, but also I was in a lot of sessions with the chorus, and because we have this interplay. And I think naturally I wanted to rely on the chorus. And then it all came to a crunch point about we'd done 2 dresses. And Michael, the director, said to me, I think you're humanizing her too much. I think you're trying to make her understandable as a mother who would kill her children. That my attitude was I want you to understand why she would do that. And he's like, she doesn't care what anybody thinks. She literally will cut off her nose to spite her face because she wants vengeance. And another note he gave me was that she doesn't rely on the chorus. It might seem like she needs them, but she doesn't need them. And so there was just this kind of almost 360 where I went from, please understand why I've done this, to I don't care what you think of me. And that was like a real moment for me, you know.
It's quite interesting from the chorus that process is really fast. I mean, it's quite a short play. The play's only, an hour and 20 minutes. And what she says that she's going to do, she takes it through what she's going to do, and then I'm going to do this final terrible thing. And at that point, it happens all within 5 minutes, maybe, or 6 minutes in the play. The chorus are going, no, you can't do that. No, you mustn't do that. You can't do that. And she's, no, go get the guy. And so there's this sudden, for the chorus going, whoa, no, we didn't mean any of that when we said punish him for all of us. We didn't mean that. And Medea just goes, no,
but it's interesting I'm going to do
it.
What do they think she could do? Like, if, you know, when they say punish him for us, Medea, what could she actually do? Like, it's interesting. Like, he's about to become part of the royal family. Like, I think that line, punish him for us, is not an innocent line. Because if he was just a man in the street, get him. Yeah. But he's actually part of the royal family. So whatever she comes up with punish him for us, Medea, is going to be gruesome, because it has to be. And I've seen
And she's done everything right to this point. Yeah. You know, they're healthy, fit, nice children. And so she's no worse than the whole system that we commit to. And I just find that kind of, you are expected always to be a good mother. But what if you're not?
There's a lot as a woman to still be raging about. And I think one of the things that's most liberating about the play is you get a woman who explores her rage. Like, she doesn't shy away from it, she lets it overtake her. And I think that will always feel relevant. I don't know that as women we feel, in contemporary society, we feel able to really explore rage. I don't think we're socialized into exploring rage. And so you have this character, 2,000 years old, who does. And I'd like to say she won't always be relevant, but, you know, it feels like she's still very relevant because we don't do that. So it didn't feel like I needed to do some huge research of like Grecian theatre or myth or anything like that. And with Liz's text as well, it just feels very relevant. And because of the way Liz has written it as well, it feels very visceral, very contemporary. There's a lot of swear words in the play, which also just lands it for you in a particular way as well. And so you have this mix of the very kind of like mundane language and this heightened poetry, and all of it feels like it just grounds you in your own reality of what the world is like right now. For me anyway, as a woman. So that's interesting. In terms of the bigger themes, I mean, I think a mother killing her children will always be fascinating to people, because still we don't expect women or mothers to behave that way. But of course, motherhood is only one part of Medea, and she's willing to sacrifice that. She doesn't do it because she's a mother. She does it in spite of being a mother. It's just one part of her. And I think it'll always be fascinating that someone chooses to sacrifice children in this way, when we were talking about this earlier. Children are sacrificed every day in this world, still, all the time, for all sorts of reasons. And for Medea, I think the thing that kind of surprises people is because she's their mother. But that still happens today. That was something I looked at as well, like contemporary stories of mothers who kill their children. And it happens. It happens all over the world consistently. So it's not as much of an anomaly as we like to think it is. You're talking about translations of Medea. I read one where they really, really tried hard to make you believe that she was doing it for the good of the children, and that if she didn't do it, the children would be killed by Corinth. And it's true, they would be, because of what she's done. And what I love about Liz is she's like, she does it for all sorts of reasons, and that's only one of them, and it's only a small part of it. You know, she doesn't let us off the hook.
Because it's also structurally, it's a great play. Because we were just talking about this as well, and the nurse comes on at the beginning and says, okay, this is everything that's happened. But she doesn't come on and go, right, everybody settle down, I'm going to bring you up to date. This is not a preface. She comes in and she herself is like, calls on, she says, I wish to all the gods. And she goes back like to the absolute essential moment, which is of like the sun heating up the soil and a seed growing into a tree that could be cut down to make a keel for the ship that sailed to Colchis. And so there's that whole thing of, as well, of a nurse going, stay in your seats, there's more to come. Do you know, which I think is, when we're talking about theatre, it's 2,500 years old, but even like in Shakespearean theatre, characters do that in plays, you know, suddenly a new art form, and an audience is going to watch a play for 3.5 hours. So you have a character near the top of the play goes, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. So you need to stay to the end. And I think that's also a function of tragedy, of choruses. It's not about being sad. It is not about being sad. It's about you stay to the end. And that's part of the function of chorus as well, to keep the audience, you don't get to leave. You know?
A key moment, I think, is when she finds out that Glauci is pregnant, because, the stakes become much higher then, because it's about not just Jason bedding a new bride, it's starting a new family. And I think for her, it becomes really stark what she's going to lose. Everything she's losing in that moment becomes really stark. And another pivotal moment is actually something that we've added, which is a kiss that Jason forces on her at the end of their first scene together, where she's basically said, I've betrayed my family, I've killed people, I've left my land, I've made enemies of everyone I ever loved, all this for you, and you treat me like this. And she's really pleading to his humanity, going like, the sacrifices I've made for you, how can you treat me like this? And for me, physically, when he kisses her at the end, as a kind of, it's an act of total violence and domination of her. And I think for her, in terms of her relationship with him, that for me is a turning point. But that's not actually in Liz's script. It's something that Michael brought to the table, but I think it's brilliant. I mean, the idea of it is in Liz's script, because the chorus say, when Jason comes, they say, beware of him, don't fall for it, don't. So there's obviously a real, because she loves him so much, there's a real possibility of that happening, but we've crystallized it in a physical act. Actually, another interesting moment, I think I've just made this connection now, so just bear with me, but when when Glauci leaves, she comes up with a plan to kill her, and she comes up with a plan to kill her and kill the child in her. She does that before she thinks about killing her children. And I've just suddenly understood that she's able to make that leap after she's made the leap with Glauci.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. You made me realize that.